"You're fired." The arrogant man's voice echoed through the busy restaurant. Forks froze mid-air, glasses stopped clinking, and every conversation went silent. He was pointing at a young black waitress who stood frozen, gripping her order pad. Her name was Maya, and in that single moment, she became the center of everyone's attention. But here's the twist. This man had just made the biggest mistake of his life. Maya wasn't just a waitress. She was the co-owner of the entire restaurant chain. And before the night ended, this man was going to learn the most expensive lesson he'd ever be taught, that IT was a typical Friday night, one of the busiest nights for the restaurant. The warm glow of hanging lights reflected off polished tables, filling the space with a cozy, inviting atmosphere. Families were celebrating birthdays, friends were laughing over drinks, and the kitchen was buzzing with orders flying in. Then, he walked into a tall man in a tailored suit and shiny designer shoes. His gold watch caught the light as he adjusted his cufflinks. He wasn't just entering the restaurant. He was announcing his presence. "Table for one," he said sharply to the hostess, snapping his fingers like she was a servant. "And make it quick. I don't have all day." The hostess flinched slightly, but forced a professional smile. "Of course, sir. Right this way." She led him to one of the best tables near the window, usually reserved for VIPs, and handed him a menu. Maya was working a double shift that evening. She was tired, but you wouldn't know it by looking at her. She carried herself with grace and confidence, every step calm and steady, her warm smile making every guest feel valued. She approached the new guest with her order pad ready. "Good evening, sir. My name is Maya, and I'll be your server tonight. Can I start you off with a drink?" The man barely glanced at her. "Took you long enough," he muttered under his breath, loud enough for the neighboring tables to hear. "I've been sitting here for 2 whole minutes." Maya stayed calm. "I'm sorry for the wait, sir. Can I take your order?" He didn't even open the menu. "Bring me the most expensive thing you have. And hurry." In the kitchen, Maya let out a slow breath. This wasn't the first rude customer she'd dealt with, but there was something different about this man, something extra sharp in his tone, as if he was daring her to slip up. She placed his order and made sure the kitchen rushed it. Within minutes, the chef plated the dish, still steaming. Maya carefully carried it to the table. "Here you go, sir," she said, gently setting the plate down. But before she could even step back, he slammed his palm on the table, rattling the silverware. "This is cold," he barked. Maya blinked. The steam was still rising from the plate. "Sir, the dish just came from the kitchen. Don't talk back to me," he shouted, his face turning red. Guests turned their heads. A couple sitting 2 tables over exchanged worried glances. A child whispered, "Mommy, why is he yelling?" The man stood up suddenly, towering over Maya. "You're fired," he yelled, pointing a finger at her face. "Right now, get your manager. I want you gone this instant." Maya's heart pounded in her chest, but she didn't break eye contact. She gave a small nod and turned toward the kitchen. Moments later, the restaurant manager, David, hurried out. His usual easygoing expression was gone, replaced with a look of concern. "Sir," David began carefully, "is there a problem with your meal?" "There's a problem with your staff," the man snapped. "This waitress is completely incompetent. First, she takes forever to serve me. Then she argues with me about my food. Either you fire her right now, or I swear I'll ruin this restaurant's reputation. Do you have any idea who I am?" People were whispering now, pulling out their phones, some even recording. Before David could answer, Maya reappeared, but this time she wasn't carrying a tray. She walked to the table with calm, measured steps, and stood tall. "Sir," she said clearly, loud enough for everyone to hear. Maya continued, "There will be no firing, her voice steady. The
I'm
man's
not just a
face
waitress.
twisted in
I'm the
disbelief.
co-owner of this restaurant
"Excuse
chain.
me? And in my establishment, we do not tolerate customers who humiliate our staff." The man's jaw dropped. "You what?" "That's right," Maya said, her expression unflinching. "I helped build this place from the ground up. Our team works hard every single day to create a space where everyone is respected, staff and guests alike. You can finish your meal on the house, but after tonight, you are no longer welcome here. There was a moment of silence, and then applause. First one person clapped, then another, and soon the entire restaurant erupted in cheers. "Good for you," someone shouted that a woman near the bar yelled. Finally, someone said it. The man's face turned crimson as he realized every eye in the room was on him. Phones were still recording. Whatever happened here was likely going to end up online. "You can't ban me," he shouted, but his voice cracked under the pressure. "Oh, I can," Maya replied calmly. "And I just did." The man grabbed his coat, muttering curses under his breath, and stormed out. As soon as the door closed behind him, the restaurant seemed to breathe again. David turned to Maya, shaking his head with a small smile. "I think you just became a legend tonight." Guests approached Maya one by one, praising her for standing up for herself. Some even asked to shake her hand. One young woman said quietly, "Thank you for showing that we don't have to take disrespect, even from people with money." Maya smiled warmly. "We all deserve respect. That's why I started this business in the first place." And then, as if nothing had happened, she went back to work, taking orders, greeting guests, making sure everyone was cared for. That night became a story that locals would tell for months. The video someone recorded even went viral, earning Maya and her restaurant even more loyal customers. And the arrogant millionaire? He stayed away, perhaps too embarrassed to ever show his face there again. The lesson? Money doesn't buy class. Power doesn't come from shouting the loudest or humiliating others. True strength is staying calm, standing your ground, and choosing dignity over drama. The millionaire thought he could fire a waitress. Instead, he got banned by the owner.